All right, I am Dr. Zombrain, also known as Seth. This is my co-host, Junior Wolf Gaming, also known as JJ.
Greetings and salutations.
So this week, we are going to be doing two parts. Part 1 will be Marvel Phase 1 through 3, and next week we're going to have an episode on Phase 4, which are the current shows, and also Phase 5 and 6, which we don't really know much about other than what the movies are.
Indeed.
And JJ also said he has some stuff he wants to really talk to me about. So
yeah, we got to get through these quickly to talk about what all these leaks coming out and the exciting or less exciting shows that are being shot straight to Disney Plus, which is a questionable choice, but you know.
We'll roll with it. So where do you want to start? Do you just want to go?
I mean, I had some icebreaker questions written out here to just kick us off.
Okay.
So to start, let's just say, what's your favorite movie in Phase 1 through 3?
Cool. Hard.
It's very hard. There's a lot of good ones.
I've always really liked Age of Ultron.
Oh, yeah, I agree. That one is
I've watched
amazing.
it so many times, but Captain America: The First Avenger specifically, I really like. I think those are my top two, but I think Age of Ultron is just a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. I always loved like the whole AI becoming sentient thing. Like, it doesn't even matter if it's Marvel, like anything where an AI just becomes aware.
Terminator. Robot Uprising.
Indeed.
No, yeah, I really like that. I really like the other characters too, the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, their introduction. I thought it was really unique compared to some of the other.
Yeah, they've been important characters too. I mean, less so Quicksilver, but Wanda's been pretty important.
Wanda's great, except how much they disrespect our girl. Yeah. Wait, how many times is she gonna be a villain?
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
What are we up to? 3?
Mm-hmm.
She has a chance if she didn't die.
Yeah. All right, so yours is Age of Ultron.
How about you?
For me, I'd probably have to say either Spider-Man: Far From Home or Thor: Ragnarok. Those
are good too.
They have the right balance of like comedy and action, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd say Thor Ragnarok I like more.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one. Just the whole comedy of like not to mention the actors, but I really like the whole. Was it the Collector or?
Yeah,
it was that one.
Collector, yeah.
No, Collector was the Grandmaster. Collector was the one in Guardians of the Galaxy. Grandmaster. I really like those characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So those are our favorite movie. Got any more questions?
The second one I had was favorite character. So ignoring their movies, what would be your favorite character?
That's a good one. I'd say maybe Doctor Strange.
Good choice.
I really like
solid
top Strange. Yeah, definitely. If not, Peter Quill's up there too.
All of the first Phase 3 characters, or first 3 phases of characters, have definitely been the better.
Phase 4, it's been a little iffy. Like, they're not terrible, but like, the new Captain America and stuff, it just hasn't really felt the same in the originals.
I think for me, it would probably have to be... This is hard because I say Wanda's my all-time favorite character, but WandaVision had a big part in that. So
she's Phase 1 through 3, she definitely didn't have as big.
Favorite is hard. I'd have to go Spider-Man then, though. Because, he
have any
he's a
movies
nerd
in
like
Phase
me, so...
1 through 3? Other than, like, He didn't have any movies till Phase 4, did he?
Who?
Spider-Man. Did he have any movies?
Oh, no, I have Phase 3 pulled up here. He's, Homecoming and Far From Home were both Phase 3.
Then I think IMDb is lying to me.
Either that or fandom is lying to me. Who knows?
We don't know anymore.
Yeah, all up until Endgame would have been considered Phase 3. And I believe Far From Home... Well, Far From Home is technically after Endgame.
Far From Home is technically... Yeah, it's after Endgame. Far From Home or No Way Home?
No Way Home is the third one, which is
Yeah, they're
Phase
both. Yeah, and Far From Home is technically after Endgame, but
Yes.
Homecoming would be right after, I guess, what was it?
The
Winter
Galaxy
Soldier?
2 is what it's listed as after.
Well, like, chronologically, be after Winter Soldier. No, not Winter Soldier. Civil War. Civil War.
Yeah, it probably would be. Yeah, I have a chronological order pulled up here, so it's Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, and then Homecoming.
I guess there was a few months between when he helped out at the airport towards the movie.
Yeah.
Got any more icebreakers before we start?
No, I only got 2 written down before we started, so unless you have anything.
I don't. Okay, here's one. Which character did you think had the best character development?
Oh gosh. See that? There's so many good ones. I feel like
For me,
an easy one would be Wanda, because like she
Oh,
started
yeah.
a villain,
Good to-
right?
yeah, back.
And then ends
Yeah,
up
I
joining the
guess so.
Avengers and sees where their stances are, stuff like that. So I feel like she would be an easy answer. But if I went for a different one, it would probably be like, Tony, probably. Because like you can
Yeah,
see,
Tony's
first
definitely
movie,
up
he's a
there.
complete like
Billionaire playboy.
yeah. He's just not a
To
great person, and then
literally-
by Endgame, here he is sacrificing himself.
Which I saw a video today about, like, how, remember in Age of Ultron, his greatest fear was seeing everybody die around him, and he was the only one to actually die from Endgame.
Yeah.
I really like Captain America, though, a little bit. He definitely didn't have as much, but he kind of learned to break the rules a bit.
Yeah.
Such a soldier, and he really became his own person and really did what's right. Like, we saw that where he literally went against the entire government. He went against, what's the Soviet Accords?
Yeah.
Like, he went against that, and I feel like that's definitely some character development for him. Definitely not as big as Iron Man. I feel like Tony definitely grew in a bigger way, but I definitely think, like, just Iron Man and Captain America, I feel like are definitely some of the, obviously they're the main characters of the Avengers, but I definitely feel like they had some of the greatest growth as well.
Yeah.
Like, Iron Man's just a little bit more.
Okay. Well, I guess with that, we can just jump into like let's go through this like chronologically and see if we have any comments on specific movies.
Okay.
So starting
So how,
with phase
how
one,
many
obviously,
movies do you have? Because mine has 21, so we can just see how many.
21 what?
Mine is 21 movies for phase 1 through 3. Do you have a list of?
I don't have a count. I'd have to go through and count every one of them.
Okay, we'll just take a while later then.
But yeah, let's just start off with the obvious first one, Iron Man. What did you think of that movie when you first saw it?
I really enjoyed it because you look at some of the superhero and action movies, it felt really, like it felt like it was really solid. Like you look at I'm trying to think of some old superhero movies. I mean, you look at the old Avengers and stuff like that, or old Spider-Man, or like, you know, the original Spider-Man and stuff like that. Definitely wasn't as high quality. Like I felt like it was really good. The CGI was great for the time. Even now, I feel like it holds up really well. So, just generally was really well, and I really like the story. Like even in the first movie, you see his growth. Like him seeing what he's doing is wrong.
Yeah.
And
yes, I think. See, that one I feel like definitely hasn't aged as well as some of the older Marvel movies. I think it's definitely still a solid movie, and it was definitely a good place to start it. But I feel like in terms of like the way they're written, it felt a little bit slow, and obviously the graphics aren't as good as they are now. Or I guess
no,
maybe they were better.
well, it depends because some
We've
of
all
them.
seen the She-Hulk.
Yeah,
trailer.
we've seen She-Hulk and Thor Ragnarok. I heard not Ragnarok, Love and Thunder. I've heard some pretty.
Yeah.
People were disappointed with the CGI.
Yeah. So I guess for its time, it was pretty good, but compared to like the best of the best that we have now, which I'm sure they're capable of, it's definitely not comparable. But
Yeah.
they also
For
didn't
2009,
use as much CGI back then. They used actual
It was a lot
props,
more
outfits, and stuff.
Yeah. So what'd you rate it out of 10? Do you want to go through and like rate it out of 10, just general? We're not
Yeah.
go, like,
I'd rate it a
CGI
7, probably.
I'd say 7.5. I say it's definitely up there, but not quite as good as an 8 and some of those really good movies. Because I feel like the story was still a little lackluster compared to some of these crazy stories we have now.
Okay, now the one that I had completely forgotten is actually in the MCU, The Incredible Hulk.
Okay, I'm not even gonna lie, don't remember this movie at all. I think I've seen it like one time. Like I remember it was part of the MCU. I don't remember the movie itself.
See,
so do you want to go over it, or
is
do
the
you
fact
want
that they had to change the actor.
Not just change the actor, but like the MCU didn't start yet.
That's true, yeah. I guess there wasn't really a connector until the end of the movie where what's-his-face popped in from Iron Man.
Yeah, so didn't really have anything going for it. Same with Iron Man. Like if Iron Man ended, it wouldn't be like they could have just done solo movies. Like we see that with Justice League and DC.
Yeah.
Right? Like a lot of them weren't really connected. There were more solo movies, and I feel like that's what Incredible Hulk was. It was more of a solo movie than a universe, and especially not until Thor to really see the connections.
Yeah. But Iron Man 2, what about that one?
I definitely say it had a better story than Iron Man 1. I really like the whole, evil, especially the battle between his like almost his best friend. Like I thought that was some really good character development in there. Just some conflicts. That was the one where they created vibranium, right? He created vibranium for his suit. Are correct?
I think so, yeah. Pretty sure.
Yeah,
the triangle.
He used the model. Yeah, he used the model from his dad's show, Stark Expo. So that was really good.
Yeah.
As well. That was right, because that's the one where all the robots attacked.
Yeah.
At the Expo. The third one is when the suits attacked. His suits.
My brother Kieran made me watch that movie so many times, so I have a lot of its points burned into my head. But yeah, out of 10.
What was your favorite character for that one? What was your favorite character for that one?
Oh gosh. I'd probably say Hammer. I feel like he was a great character.
Oh yeah, Hammer was definitely good. I really like Black Widow in this one. Like this is where we see a little bit more of her, and she was a solid character. And I always liked the more human characters than like the gods or some crazy beings like Thor, Superman, all those crazy. I really like the human ones. So not Scarlet Witch, Black Widow.
You're thinking Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. Out of 10, I'd say 8. I'd say it's a little bit better, but still not super up there than the original.
I'd put this one at a 7.5, honestly.
Okay.
Like, better than the original, but still not peak Marvel, I'd say.
Definitely not.
All right, on to the big one. Thor, 2011.
It's crazy to think that there's a 3-year gap between them.
Yeah, it's huge.
Because you look at it now, it's almost every year, every 2 year, multiple a year, or at most a year between. And now, but back then, it was about 2-3 years between the first few movies. So Thor, I don't know. I definitely not one of my favorites. I like Thor as a character, but like the original Thor wasn't as big. I did like the villain Loki. Loki's great. One of my favorite characters in MCU, without a doubt, especially after Loki, the show. But even then, like throughout the movies, great character. But like the villain itself just wasn't the Sentinel or whatever it was. It wasn't super great. Heimdall I like though. Again, he's like a cool character. Not one of my favorites, but he's cool. I always enjoy when he's part of the story, the conflict, whatever. I'd say for this one though, like I'd have to give it like a 6 out of 10. It's good, but it's just compared to some other Marvel movies and shows, it's just nowhere near.
Yeah. For me, I feel like his character in this movie was kind of weak. He kind of seemed like whiny, like a spoiled brat, and I think that's what they were going for.
That's definitely the feel of it.
Yeah, in terms of the outlook for his character, it's just not a fun one to look back on because his character is so much better now than it was in this movie.
Yeah.
So I think for that reason, I'd probably give it like, probably similar, around a 6. It's not exactly great to look back on, but as a start for his character,
it's important. It's important. Like you said, like he was a whiny baby. Like he definitely matured through this movie, but compared to the character he is now, it'll like I wish we could have just skipped to this.
Yeah.
Rather than have to go through that growth. Because like someone like Iron Man, I really enjoyed seeing his growth.
Yeah.
Or not so much.
Yeah, I agree there. All right, on to the big one. Ooh, Captain America.
One of my favorites. The first Avenger.
Yep.
Kind of weird that this came out before the Avengers. I thought it came out after the Avengers.
Really?
Like chronologically, it's really old, so I always forget the movie of when it came out.
The first Avenger, he was in Avengers, so if it came out after Avengers, you wouldn't have any context as to who he is.
I guess that's fair, yeah. It's just the chronological versus time when the movie came out kind of gets me mixed up sometimes.
Yeah.
Because every time I watch it chronologically. So I always watch like Captain America and Marvel, Captain Marvel first.
Yeah.
Great. Absolutely fantastic. I love the setting and everything. It's great. Captain America is just like, he really is the red, white, and blue of America. Like just this freedom. I really like that as a character. Like the CGI was great too. Like the whole shield physics, but I also love Howard Stark. I don't know. Did you ever watch Miss Peggy Carter or Agent Carter?
A little bit of it. I've seen episodes here and there.
I've watched the whole thing, and he's in it a lot, and I absolutely love him as a character. He's really fun. I'd say this one is, I want to say 8.5. I'd say it's really up there. I really enjoyed this one.
In terms of my personal interest, I didn't actually appreciate it for what it was at the time because, I wanted the super flashy superheroes with powers and stuff. But now looking back at it, I'm like, wow, this was actually a really well-written movie. And in terms of like the way Marvel's been going downhill with their writing, I definitely can fondly look back on this and say this was a solid movie. Like they did fantastic on this script. And I feel like if they got some of those same writers back, they would like have it in the bag. But yeah, I'd say this one is definitely like top 5 to 3, honestly. I'd probably give it an 8.
Yeah. So this is where I feel like almost hurt every other movie in existence, and kind of founded what so many games and movies are. The Avengers, just having everything like have like a cinematic universe. Like I feel like this really hurt DC, and it really founded the way like Fortnite and all these other games. It feels like they have to be connected somehow, and that started with the Avengers in 2012.
Yeah, it was definitely a groundbreaking project to be working on. The fact that all of these movies that they've been building up for 4 years now have all now collected into one film, and all these fans, like even if you didn't like the Hulk but you loved Iron Man, you're now coming to see this movie with those same Hulk fans, all hoping to see the same thing, and that's that character that you love collaborating with all these other heroes that also had movies. It was just such a changing thing.
And one thing I always love with fights is when I feel like so many shows and movies, their fights are separate. Like this one guy's fighting over here and another guy's fighting over here. But with this one, their fights very much were connected. One fight would leak into another. And I absolutely love that when it comes to fight scenes.
We all know that, that classic shot with all 4 of them standing back to back. Like that's the pinnacle Avengers shot.
Yeah. All 4 of them. There's a bit more than 4.
Hey, my bad.
Which ones did you just not care about? Let's see who are the 4.
Yeah.
I'd say that's She-Hulk bias.
Oh my word. Yeah, definitely.
So out of 10, I feel like I said, for what it is, it's 9. For what it is, and how revolutionary it was for media in general, not just MCU, just all of media, gaming, movies, shows. It just revolutionized it. So I'd have to give it a 9 for that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. 9 is probably the best place to set it. All right, well, that concludes phase 1, unless there's something more on your list that we're missing.
It's just going in order. The next one's just number 7, which is great. So
that concludes phase 1 then. So
I guess that's a fair way to end off a phase, like a big movie like that. So
Yeah.
I wonder what ends off. Do you remember what ends phase 2 off the top of your head?
I mean, I have it pulled
Would
up
that be
right
Civil
here.
War?
It looks like Ant-Man ends off phase 2.
I mean, that's fair, because Civil War definitely founded a new era.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's a good way to start off a thing, too.
Yeah. All right, but
Right.
that's jumping too far ahead.
Yeah.
Iron Man
We'll get
3.
to there. We'll get there. Iron Man 3. I'd say my least favorite of the Iron Man. I'm not saying it's bad. It's a good movie, especially compared to some other stuff we've seen, like Thor and Thor: The Dark World, which will be next. I think it's better, but compared to the other Iron Man, it wasn't as enjoyable for me.
Yeah. I feel like 2 was like the best Iron Man is gonna get. 3 was cool, but definitely like it was cool to see like his evolution of suits and like his tech.
Oh yeah, that was really
better
cool
and
to see
better.
that. Yeah.
But 3's story just was not as good as 2, in my opinion. So due to that,
Yeah,
I'd
that's
probably
story
put it
really
at
hurt
like
it.
a 6.5.
I'd have to say 7. I still think it's up there, but compared to some of the other ones, it's just not as good.
Yeah. Next, Thor: The Dark World.
2. That's actually really generous. I'm gonna give it like a star, it has 5 points. I'm just gonna give it one of those points. Not even the full star, like not even half a star, just one of the points of the star.
Would you like to explain why?
I'm just kidding. I don't think Thor: The Dark World is as bad, but I feel like it's one of the butting ends of Marvel. I feel like so many people complained about it.
It definitely gets the most flack out of a lot of the first
I don't
3
think it's as
phases.
bad as what people say, but I definitely don't think it's up there. Like, I think it's better than a 5, but definitely not up there. Some of these others, like,
I mean, I wouldn't put
I'd say
it
maybe
better
like
than
a-
a 5.
huh?
I wouldn't put it better than a 5. I'd say 4.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, you would 4?
Yeah.
I'd say maybe a 5, because we definitely see a little bit more of like Thor's power. I
Mhm.
definitely like the Earth scene, but story wise, it's just the love interest. It's just not there compared to some of these other characters and their side, like their gang of
Mhm.
characters that go along with their movies.
Yeah, it was just a little bit lacking.
But actually, to come to think of it, this is the only character that has 4 movies, right? 4.
Yeah.
Because Iron Man had 3, Captain America had Captain America the First Avenger, Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
and I guess Civil War is technically Captain America.
Yeah.
But then Thor has Thor: The Dark World, Ragnarok, and Love and Thunder. So that's the only one that has 4 solo.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
But yeah, it's
Alright.
just mid, really. Like,
Yeah.
that's the best word to describe it. It's not terrible, but it's also not great. It's really just in the middle
Yeah, I'd
for
agree.
MCU.
All right.
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier. This is the first Marvel movie I actually saw in theaters. My dad took me to see it, and
That's a movie that's great to like for the first to see in theaters.
it was
fantastic.
awesome. Just like the dynamic of Bucky losing his memory and then regaining it. It's just like everything about it is just cool. It was just cool.
Yeah, me and you have talked. Fury is definitely top 3 characters for MCU.
Yeah.
Director Fury is just awesome. Just his whole character, like at the beginning, his suspicions and him being a spy, but then even when he died and coming back, like that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like I absolutely love that. That's one of my favorite parts of that movie.
I would agree. Definitely reinforced it.
I'm gonna have to give this one a 9.
I'm gonna say 8.7.
8.7. Okay. Yeah, I'd say that's fair. It's up there. It's not, even though it's one of those times where even though it's rating the same as another movie, it's not quite to that standard, like ranking wise, like 1, 2, 3.
Mhm.
It's below, but it's up there. It's just such a fun movie. Like the action's great, the comedy. I mean, remember when he took out the shield or the suit from the museum? He took
Yeah, yeah.
museum.
All right then. After Winter Soldier, we have Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's definitely, I'd say, one of my personal favorites. Like you said earlier, Quill is just a great character. Him spearheading everything was just awesome. I love like that first scene, just dancing through all the little weird rabbit demon things. That was definitely fun.
Yeah, that was great. Definitely one of the better soundtracks, but story-wise, I don't think it's up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the story was a tidbit lacking, but it was an origin story, right? There's only so far you can go with an origin story, like getting the team together and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole team was just a delight. Like, I can still go back and watch that and be like, this adds up to Marvel standards.
Yeah, the prison scene was really funny.
Mm-hmm. Out of 10, I'd put that at an 8.
I'd say 8's good. I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah. All right, then. On to our favorite, Age of Ultron.
9.5.
You know what?
Enough said.
I'm gonna say 9 here, just purely because there were flaws with it. Killing off Quicksilver that fast, probably a poor choice. But, you know, I very much like it. I feel like that's the best state that the Avengers as a team was in. Like, having all the members in one spot, you know, trying to protect Sokovia and whatnot.
And not just that, but the fact that they weren't perfect either. I like that they're not perfect. Like, they had conflict. Was it this one or the first Avengers that they're... Well, I guess they were kind of playing with the scepter here. Yeah, they were playing with the scepter. I really like that conflict, especially when they try to get roused up.
Yeah. I do like how in this movie they also had, like, small-scale relationships. Like, sure, everybody's friends with each other, but then you have the small-scale ones like Wanda and Hawkeye. They kind of had a thing going on. Like, he was a lot more of a friend to her than a lot of the other Avengers were being, because he understood her situation a bit more than they did. And I feel like that kind of small-scale understanding between characters can definitely make you feel connected to them a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Technical difficulties. We're chilling.
We're definitely chilling.
Yeah. Like I said, just interesting dynamics. But I will agree that that's... Maybe I'll put a 9. That Quicksilver was a rude stab.
It was. It was like, oh, come on, that would have been so great.
Especially since I really liked him in the what movies? X-Men movies.
Yeah, he was a great character in those ones.
So I was really excited to see him. And then there's like, nah. But I did like the Hawkeye part, like that connection they had.
Yeah. But yeah, so sits at a 9 for both of us. I feel like that's a great place to set it. And then to conclude phase 2, Ant-Man.
I'd say comedy's up there. It's one of my favorite. It's definitely not as like fighty as some of the other ones, like, you know, Avengers and stuff. But the comedy I feel like is more my type, and I like the comedy a lot more.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that front. He's definitely one of the funniest Marvel characters in there. And I don't know if I was just in the dark or not, but I had no idea he was so old.
How old is he in the original one?
Gosh, he would have been in his 40s or 50s at that point, I think. Paul...
That is old.
Rudd. He's 53 now. So at that point, he would have been, like, mid-40s.
That is old, especially for the Avengers.
Mm-hmm. Because, like, I watched through Friends, the sitcom, and he was in that, and I was like, oh, wow. I thought he would have been younger at this point. And then my sister made a point, well, like, yeah, he's plays Ant-Man now. Can't be that old. You look it up. He's 50. Like, gosh, he's got to be one of the oldest actors, especially entering in phase 2. Like, being that old at your entrance point.
Yeah.
But yeah, out of 10, I'd put that in an 8. It's a very enjoyable movie to watch. Obviously, action is not the most compelling, but the comedy makes up for it 100%. It's definitely very creative.
I'd say maybe like 7.5, because I really like the combat more. That's what I like. I watch a lot of shows that have more combat, so just for that. But the comedy definitely makes up for it.
Yeah.
So I'd have to give it a pretty high rating. I don't think it could be too high compared to some of these other ones.
Yeah. All right then. To launch off Phase 3. This is the longest of the phases, and I think there's the most to say about it as well. But to kick it off, we had Civil War being one of the most complex Marvel movies we've had. All the different characters out there, all like they having to take a side with each other. It was such an interesting concept to throw out. Like, you have this team that's supposed to be able to work together, now fighting amongst each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like the sides too. It's not just like good or evil. It's really like a political, but it's also not like, Democrat or Republican. It's still a fictional. It's still a way. Like, one thing that movies do is they allow you to like escape the real world, and I feel like it still did that, but we didn't have to worry about too much real world. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it was definitely. In terms of how politics are handled in most modern day movies, I feel like it's a little bit more on the nose trying to talk about real world issues. This one, it just felt like, okay, they're leaking in politics, but not real politics. It feels like a political issue that's not at all related to the real world, and I feel like that's a great place for it to be.
Definitely. I'd say for like, I think the fighting was good too, and just that whole evolution of Bucky was good. I really like Bucky as a character in that one, especially near the end, and like the evolution with like Tony's parents and that whole story arc. That was fun.
Yeah.
So, what do you rate it out of 10 then?
Out of 10, I'd probably put that at a 7.
I'd say 7's fair.
Because this was technically also our first introduction to Spider-Man, wasn't it?
Sure, yeah. Tom Holland Spider-Man, this was the first one.
Yeah. And it's kind of odd to see a character for the first time not in their solo movie. So that was definitely an interesting thing, especially having two Spider-Man.
Yeah, leading up to this, every character had a solo. Yeah, I didn't think of that. But no, yeah. So out of 10 then, I'd have to, no, we already said this, 7, right?
Yeah.
7. All right.
Then on to Doctor Strange.
All right.
Yep, Doctor Strange will be the next one. So I'll let you start on that one. What do you think?
Definitely one of my 4 favorite characters. Not necessarily movies, definitely favorite characters though. Like I said, like for character development, he's definitely one that comes to mind. Comes to become like a really cocky person, but he really becomes open, tries to help people. I don't just mean, taking away his vow of healing people and killing people instead, but like actually like trying to help the general public and not so selfish and greedy. The fight scene was great. That come to bargain, that's an iconic scene from the MCU, especially Phase 3 now, right? So definitely an iconic scene from that. So I'd have to say up there, 8.5.
I'd probably only put it at the 7, but that's just because I feel like in terms of where like first solo movies go, it was not as strong as the following. Like, I feel like his following appearances were a lot stronger than his first movie in general. So like making an appearance in the next Spider-Man movie and, the next Avengers movies, like where he makes appearances there, I feel like it's definitely better for his character than it was in that first movie. But in terms of like his character in general, I really enjoyed it, and I think his power set is a lot more interesting than some others we've had.
See, I also don't like the whole wizard and magic thing very much. I'm more like sci-fi techie, but he's definitely one of those magic users I do enjoy using. Like, I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan, but he Doctor Strange over here is definitely like the type of magic I do like. So that's another reason why I rate it so high. It's one of the, like, of that genre, it's one of the few that I really enjoy.
All the Harry Potter fans are triggered that you're comparing the two.
You're welcome. I like to start fights.
Oh gosh.
How about you?
Right.
Where did you rate it? Where did you rate it out of 10?
I'd probably say 6 or 7.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I don't know how to feel about this movie because it feels really weird for a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, compare to some other sequels like Iron Man 2 and, Avengers 2. Not up there, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't feel like a sequel. Like, if it was standalone, I feel like it'd be really good, but just as a sequel, especially for the MCU, it feels really weird. Now, I feel like with Volume 3 that's going to be coming out and Phase 4 and 5, I feel like we might get a little bit more information about Ego and that whole storyline, but just where it is as of this moment right now, it just feels really random and off-center compared to the MCU.
Yes, I'd agree. The story in it was a little bit confusing, and I feel like that kind of level of threat should not have just been dealt with by the Guardians. There probably should have been other heroes this year, but
Yeah.
I guess.
But hey, they had Mary
How
Poppins.
far?
No. Just no. Come on, he's Mary Poppins. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. No, but again with the soundtrack though, on
Yeah,
without a doubt. But not to mention we did forget one key point of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Baby Groot. Come on, we forgot about Baby Groot was key. I think without Baby Groot, I probably would have gave it like a 6, but I think with Baby Groot, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10.
I love how Disney's new meta is take a character everybody loves and make it a baby version. You see it with Groot, you see it with Yoda. They're just doing it all over and over again, and it's taking the internet by storm.
Not wrong. It was big. Yeah, I'd have to say 7 out of 10. Not without Groot, even without Groot. Like legitimately, I feel like it's definitely just not up there for an 8. Like I said, like just it feels more standalone, but it is a solid movie nonetheless.
Yeah, I'd also say 7. All right, then. Spider-Man Homecoming. The first movie in collaboration with Sony.
For the MCU specifically.
For the MCU, yeah.
I'd have to say that one, I think... I'm trying to think of Homecoming. I feel like that might be my favorite Spider-Man movie. For the 3. Yeah, I like it. I did like... the new one with all the old Spider-Man coming together. That was interesting, but it's just not my type of thing. It definitely made it, but it's just one of those things where I feel like that it relied too heavily on that. I feel like that was the whole hype of the movie was with those two, and that kind of ruins my hype for it. Just having the central point. That's what makes it the movie it is.
See, I feel like that... them relying on that nostalgic aspect is what made it perfect for me. Like, that is my
definitely.
10.
Like, I'm not saying
that's
if
the one
you like it. Just for me specifically, I also like the animated Marvel movie, Spider-Man. I didn't really like the Tobey Maguire, all those, Andrew Garfield. I liked... it's not like I didn't like it, but for Spider-Man, I liked, like, the animated shows more, and that's what I really watched.
I was on the very opposite spectrum. I thought all the animated shows were stupid and the movies were the only good parts of Spider-Man.
Well, I'm the college student, so I'm right. Anyway.
Oh,
No, but Homecoming, like, I really like the villain, that whole aspect, especially that final fight. Like, I felt like it was really emotional when he landed, and it's like, hey, I got the bad guy type of thing. Like, I really thought that, but the whole father figure that Tony was in that, I loved that. That's another reason why it's up there. Like, he really felt like a father figure, and I think that was really awesome to see Tony like that. And I see all these movies of, like, all these things, like, when he was frozen, right, and it was that Iron Man 2, he was frozen, like, he landed in the snow. Mm-hmm. We see Peter now has a heat source in his suit. Like, he really took him in and made him the better version that he wanted to be.
Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people are torn on that because they liked seeing the relationship aspect of it, but they didn't like that it was Iron Man because Spider-Man is so not like that techie person. Everybody wanted the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that like didn't use tech. He was just like web slaying and maybe had some like great smarts. Like,
no, he's definitely smart.
Spider-Man.
No, he's definitely one of the more intelligent. But I get what you mean. He's more intelligent in the way of science than technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some people were a little bit fired up that it's like, oh well, now he has all this tech. He's not actually like a small scale hero anymore. He's like fighting these big villains. That's not Spider.
But I still feel like he does have that science smarts because like I saw a video where like think about it, he made this web fluid that's super like strong, but it can also dissolve in his science class.
Yeah.
He's definitely up there with the
Yeah.
science intelligence, which is one thing that he's definitely known for. But I do get what you mean. But I like I said, like Tony's up there, one of my more favorite as a more human than like some superpowered. I like him a little bit more than Captain America. Not to mention, I also like tech. I very much am a techie person, so just I connect.
I enjoy the tech as well, but
No, I get
the fan base doesn't.
Yeah, I get where they're coming from, though. It's definitely a valid opinion, and I can totally connect with that. But for me personally, I think I like the tech more than dislike the tech. I'd say 8.5.
Yeah, I'd also say 8.5. Definitely a solid one.
Okay, we might want to try to speed it up a little bit.
All right.
Thor Ragnarok?
Let's speed round these next few. Thor Ragnarok, just 1 out of 10. What would you say?
1 out of 10. It's definitely my favorite Thor movie. I'd have to say 8.5 to a 9. I'd say closer, like 8.7.
All right. For me, I'd probably say 9. It's pretty far up there.
Yeah, I really like the villain, like Hela, and like I said, Loki. Just that brotherly bond in that movie was fantastic. And Grandmaster. Really like the Grandmaster.
All right, Black Panther.
Black Panther. I don't know. I'm more conflicted on this one. I feel like it's definitely good. I like the soundtracks and that whole feel of like that African, but still like techie. Like I really like that. And from what I know, weren't they pretty accurate to the comics for Black Panther and Wakanda?
Yeah, from what I'm aware of, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. So one thing I should mention is I love the MCU. I've seen a lot of shows, but I'm not super into the comics. JJ isn't super into the comics, but he definitely knows a lot more about them than I do.
Yeah.
So, but I just love the whole feel of Vibranium, but I also love the villain in that one. I definitely think for like the more down to earth, we're not talking like Ego or Thanos, more down to earth type villains. No Ultron that's trying to like destroy the planet. He's just trying to rule Wakanda, and I feel like for what he is, definitely one of the better villains. I'd say maybe 8. I'm gonna have to give this one an 8.
I'd put it at 7. It's a great movie. The characters are fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, Avengers: Infinity War, the one that started the end.
I'm gonna go with the rating first. 9.5. I don't think it was quite to that insane level that we saw in Endgame, but it definitely was there. Nothing like seeing Captain America holding off Thanos with 5 stones, right? He had 5 stones. He only needed the Mind Stone left. That whole fight scene, there, but also just gathering the characters up. It was sort of cool, seeing them fight Thanos on Titan, the garden. That whole scene. Who is Gamora? Why is Gamora? That whole scene. Like, it has a lot of comedy that really help with that tension that is Infinity War.
Yeah, and then the pure shock aspect of the ending.
Yeah, it's because that's like the first time we've really seen them lose. We knew that was going to happen leading up to it with the comics and everything, but that's the first time we've really seen... Actually, that is, right? That's the first time we've ever seen anything close to a loss. It's always been a pretty easy win, so... But I like that. I think sometimes you just need that, because you can't be too perfect, because that ruins the fun.
Yeah, I'd agree. 9.5 is probably where it sits.
So, Captain
Marvel? Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man and the Wasp. Would you say this is better or worse than the original Ant-Man?
I'd say it's worse than the original.
Worse.
Not by much though.
No, it's definitely up there. It's not very much up. It's not. No, the comedy again was great the whole time when he was in the ankle monitor, and then they had the ant. That was just great. I love that fatherly bond he has as well. I really like the parental roles and that whole storylines in the MCU. There's so many, and I really like them, and I think they're very much well done. Yeah, I see for that one. I don't know if it's favorite, but the other thing with that one is, right, you have a superhero holding over a superhero. This really is just a father-daughter relationship, which again, down to earth, that more human-like connection, someone you can connect with. Like, how hard is it to connect with someone like Captain America who lived 50 years ago, or Superman who's an alien? Ant-Man and his daughter are just two normal people that just, struck by power, that had a power suit, but really just someone to connect with. I'd say it's about the same as the other one. I forget what I rated it. I'd say this one maybe like a 7.5.
Yeah, I'd say 7 probably.
Yeah.
All right, Captain Marvel. A bit of a controversial one in the community, but what are your thoughts?
Again, Nick Fury, love him. So with how much and seeing the evolution, however, I don't know how I feel about him getting the eye patch from a cat alien thing.
I love that. I feel like that
Funny.
was great.
It's definitely funny. Blockbuster. JJ, did you ever go to a Blockbuster?
I did, actually.
You did?
A couple times.
So I remember I used to always go with my dad to go to Blockbuster and get Speed Racer, the old Speed Racer. And I remember one time I also got the Lorax, that Dr. Seuss movie, and then I had it in my room for like 3 months, and it was very much late. I also remember about 2 years after Blockbuster closed, we get a movie from them in the mail. Yeah, like 1.5, 2 years later after they close, we get a movie in the mail, and I'm like, this shouldn't be happening, but oh well.
Jolly.
Completely off. Again, this is Nerd Rant. We ran about what we want. Yeah, but character-wise, I'd say it's just one of those things that's like, for how powerful she is, I felt like the movie shouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like she should have got rid of that and like got her memory back or something for how powerful she's like seen as. I don't know about the comics, but just like the MCU portrays her as one of the strongest characters. And she didn't really do much. She destroyed one ship and that's about it.
All right, 1 to 10.
1 to 10. I'd have to say 5.5.
All right, I'd give it a 6.
Yeah.
Fury saved it hard.
Oh yeah, I guess Fury. I'm gonna go up to a 6 for just how much Fury, and the comedy was pretty good too for that movie.
Yeah. All right, Endgame.
I have Inhumans, but I don't even remember that movie.
That's a show.
That's a show.
Yeah.
It says it's 43
I
minutes.
think that's considered canon.
It says it's 43 minutes, so it's a really weird show if it has one time. I don't know. IMDb is kind of being weird. Endgame. Out of 10.
All right, Endgame.
10. 10.
Really? 10.
9.7. Not up there, but I definitely think it's better than Infinity War. I remember, did you watch this one in theaters?
Yeah.
So, I don't know about you, I actually saw it 2 times in theaters, and both times the theater exploded when he picked up the hammer. That is, however, I also remember after I saw it the first time, when it came to Blu-ray, that was the thing for Blu-ray, was him picking up the hammer. I'm like, if you're waiting for it to come to Blu-ray, kind of screws it over if you're seeing one of the biggest parts in the movie in the trailer.
Yeah.
But that's definitely such a cool moment. Iron Man's sacrifice, that is really hard for a show or movie to make me cry, and that did. It had such an intense emotional impact because think about it. I also probably started MCU a lot younger than when you were, because you just caught up. I watched a lot of them when they came out or around the time when they came out. So probably from like 2011 is how long I've been with Iron Man. So at 8-9 years, and
yeah,
like that's just a lot of time connected with him. So that really had a lot of emotional impact.
For me, I wouldn't put it as high as 9.7. I'd say 9. I don't think it hit as hard for me as Infinity War did. More so because it wasn't a cliffhanger, I think. I didn't have
That's fair. That did add a lot to it. Definitely. But I also just liked the whole, like I said, like Howard, this is one of the first, no, we did see Howard, but no, I really like Howard Stark. So the fact we were able to see that, and like I said, the whole, father bond thing, like that parental figure, we see that a lot, and we kind of see how Howard felt with Tony being born, and I really like that. And I think that, and maybe that's one reason that made Tony make the decision that he did, having that reassurance of his father actually caring about him.
Now, don't even get me started on the time travel. I'm sure we're going to talk about that a lot in the next episode, but that kind of ruined this entire movie for me.
See, that's fair. As someone who really loves Doctor Who and time travel as a concept, I love that. That really made me great, but definitely adds a lot to the confusion.
Yeah.
Very confusing topic. I still don't get it, but I watch it anyway.
Yeah, for the sake of time, we'll talk about that in the next one where there's a lot more time travel going on, but to sum it all up, Spider-Man Far From Home, last one of Phase 3. What do you think?
What did I rate the other Spider-Man? Like an 8 something?
I think 7 or 8, yeah.
Yeah. I'd say, like I said, slightly worse, but not by much. So I'd say, if anything, if I rated an 8, 7.5, I'd say probably for this one. It was good. A villain, I did like Edith, but again, kind of, the villain felt fake, because it really was. It was the drones and, like, just felt fake compared to some of these other
Also Mysterio.
Yeah, I don't really know Mysterio as much from the comics and everything, so that's really some of the only things I know him from. But like, I also think in the comics he did use more magic, didn't he?
I
I thought he was more of a
like
sorcerer.
you. I don't know much about him from the comics, but
Because I think he's a sorcerer.
I think he did have something more to do with magic. Yeah.
So just like I said, like not terrible, but he just felt more fake than some other ones as like the crazy threat. Because he kind of made the threat with technology, but the technology wasn't the threat. Like Ultron, that's made from technology, but technology was the threat. It's not a threat, it's just controlled by someone, which just kind of ruins a little bit of the immersive feeling of like the danger.
I personally think this one was better than the first one. I loved Mysterio as a villain. Like, I love the villains that like mess with your head, and that whole scene where
that was
he's in the illusion.
Oh, I didn't think of that. That was a really, that's not going to change my rating, but that definitely was a really good scene from MCU as a whole. And just that feel of just like him being helpless.
Yeah.
I think that's some character development there. But wait, actually, this one had a really cool scene. I really liked when he was stuck and Happy came to pick him up and building the suit, and that whole scene where Happy became like somewhat of a parental figure. I really like that too. I thought that was
I'd probably put this one at an 8.7.
That's fair. Yeah, 8.7. Yeah, I'd say, yeah. So
that concludes it then.
So overall, what was your favorite phase?
Definitely 3.
3? Let's see. I'd say 1 maybe. Just because I like that backstory, you know, all that, like the original Avengers, but with the original Avenger, with the first Iron Man and all that sort of stuff, I really liked those. Not
I feel like
necessarily.
we just had some of the strongest hitting sequels and
that group,
stuff like that.
Definitely not 2. 2 is definitely the worst of the 3.
Yeah.
I'd say it's 1 or 3. I just like that first, you know, introduction type that 1 is. But if I didn't like that as much, 3 would have been it. It had some great fight scenes, great characters introduced, and absolutely some of the best villains, without a doubt, that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to think about the entire one phase, all phases, phase 1 to 3?
I'll leave it with this question. How do you think, as opposed to the state of Marvel now, from 1 to 10, how would you rate the first 3 phases as opposed to like 4 and 5, which we're currently in?
Better. I have to say it better.
Better?
I'd say overall, maybe like a 7.5, maybe like an 8. Whereas currently, like I said, it's getting too political, which just ruins the feel, because I really want to get away from all that when I'm watching movies. And just the story writing in general, it just isn't there. Other than WandaVision and Loki, there just hasn't been too many shows that really, like, Moon Knight was great, but that's not even canon. So just overall, I'd say like right now, maybe like a 5, 5.5. I do think it's going to go up when we start getting like Fantastic Four and Secret Wars and Loki Season 2. I think it's going to go up. But as of right now, it's definitely phase 1 through 3 was much, much better.
Yeah, I'd say the first 3 I'd rate at an 8, and the current state I'd put at 6.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, that's going to do it.
That's going to do it for this episode of Nerd Rant. Next week, we're going to be doing phase 4 and 5, and maybe doing some theorizing on season 6. Talk a little bit more about Endgame and some time travel and stuff like that. And that's also where we're going to talk about the shows, because we've mentioned WandaVision and Loki a few times. I think that's probably my favorite of the MCU. Those are very much outliers for phase 4. But definitely lots to talk about, and lots of theorize for future movies that are coming up. I think the next year we have a lot of big movies, which is really nice because I'm kind of sick of the shows. I want some big movies again. So yeah. Thank you all for watching. I'm Dr. Zombrain, also known as Seth.
And I am Junior Wolf Gaming, also known as JJ.
Peace.
See ya.